Tales from my D&D campaign.
Previously, they deliver the rod, get the quest item from Bob, intervene when the Warbond attack, then suddenly Bob said, "It's a trap!" Lightning kills off nearly all Jimmy's guys as the Luvian troops come over the rise. Heading to the plot diagram, they still have some questions about the Warforged robot lumberjack and that strange white seed that Draven got, but I'm sure we'll tie up all those loose ends soon enough, and otherwise they are well on their way to assembling all 3 artifact spoons for their main quest. The Warbound Freedom Terrorists, led by Jimmy, were not turning out to be much of a threat, but Black and Little One had taken some damage from wolves and druid Barians, and the players were a little concerned at the sheer number of enemy Kuatoa about to enter the fray. But wait, Draven, with his See and Viz, spotted these guys too late. Okay, but how did Bob see them at all? Have I not mentioned that Kuatoa vision is so precise that they can totally see movement even if the thing that is moving is ethereal or magically invisible? That's totally 100% official D&D rules in both 2nd and 3rd edition and 3.5. I didn't even make that shit up. By the way, they're also immune to poison and paralysis, 100% amphibious, heavily resistant to electricity, stronger and much tougher than humans, with bonuses to wisdom and to intelligence, just for the hell of it. You can see why Blabal chose them to conquer the world in her name. And the Diluvian leader, whose name in my campaign notes is totally Diluvian leader, he's like, "You fools were so easy to decoy. We led you around like an elf on a chain." And then he ducks into the forest, because apparently that's the hip place to be for today's stealthy warrior. Presented with this new threat, Bob's men immediately changed focus from the Warbonders to the real enemy, the Diluvians. And Jimmy's remaining Warbonders immediately changed focus to the real enemy, everyone. Including but not limited to the guys who killed most of his men, and the 2 other factions who were demonstrably fighting to incapacitate, not to kill, and had, at this point, slain a sum total of 2 of his men's wolves. Those wolves were really annoying. But as all this has been going on, Little One's been thinking about the big picture, and now he's decided that we need to find a way to get these rods to both sides. And everyone is like, what? These rods are a non-lethal AoE that knocks out the slaves, but has no effect on the masters, right? So if both sides mass-produce these things, the slaves will become useless as combatants, and the KTs will have to fight and die themselves, which should weaken both sides, and save thousands or millions of lives of the slave races. And Draven's like, okay, but how do we get them to the Diluvians? We could convince the Dawn to sell the recipe to both sides. Can you even trade with those guys? And I'm like, if you can get in contact with them, you know that they do make deals, like the Peace Bond Treaty. But historically, they only keep a bargain if it's advantageous to them. Unlike Bob's people, the Diluvians consider contracts with non-Kua to be pretty much meaningless. But Volbo the Fish Ogre finally got a decent die roll to break free of the entangle and charge into the fray against the Black Cloaks. Draven casts Bane Kuatoa on his crossbow, and Little One's like, would you use Bane weapon against human beings? No, there aren't enough of them here. I don't think that's what he was asking. I think I got my answer. But there are a ton of Diluvians, and they are much better at hitting than the crappy Warbond guys were. And as Draven opens fire with his crossbow and drops 1 soldier, they are relieved to find that 2/3 of the Black Cloaks are in fact only minions. Minions are one good idea that I borrowed from 4th edition D&D. The idea is that some fights are way more epic if there are hordes and hordes of bad guys for the heroes to beat up. Minions are enemies who are just as hard to hit and just as capable of hitting and doing damage as regular monsters of their level. But a minion always dies in 1 hit, and because of that, I get 3 or 4 of them in place of a single normal monster. In addition to letting heroes sometimes kill buttloads of guys like in an action movie, it also adds an element of strategy. Because each minion is almost as dangerous as the regular monsters, you have to kill a bunch of them quickly to avoid being overwhelmed. So Draven keeps shooting them, and Volbo cleaves one with the 2-handed sword that he wields in 1 hand, because he's large. And the Warbond halfling guy with the sling has reassessed the situation and stopped shooting Bob's men to focus on the Diluvians, but Jimmy the Warbond leader is still shouting, "Kill them all!" to the 2 guys he has left, and he splits his fire between the Diluvians and the Illud. And Angel emerges from the woods, her spike chain dripping with Kuatoa blood, and they're all, "What the heck is going on in there?" And Angel is like, "Nothing much. But you should watch out for that hooded leader guy." With Angel back, they clear a path through the Warbond so they can start ripping up Diluvian minions, but that causes Jimmy to aim a shot at them, and Black is like, "That's it." And ignoring the druid who attacks him in wolf form, he advances on Jimmy, who after 1 solid flail to the face, starts kiting him, which works really well because of Black's slow flaw. until two of Bob's men get in Jimmy's way, and Black is able to charge him and knock his punk ass down, leaving Black near Bob. And the druid turns into a bird and flocks off, and they kill all the KTs who are minions, leaving only real monsters with hit points and stuff, and little ones insulting them in aquatic common like, "Your mother was a guppy," and "I didn't know chickens could float," because he really wanted to insult them in a native language, and Kuatoa don't teach other people to speak Kuatoa. And Angel's like, "Oh yeah, I speak Kuatoa. Didn't I just say they don't teach people their language?" Well, yes, but the place where I didn't say that was the setting document that I emailed to all the players for character creation. Compromise, Angel knows enough Kuatoa to pick up common and important words, but would have to spend more skill points and find a teacher, or something, to become fluent. And it actually makes some sense with her background. Then Diluvian Leader, who turns out to be an immense dick, bursts out of the bush and shows off his unpleasant rapid shot grenade or sneak attack combo by doing 40 damage to Volbo, hurting the fish ogre for so much that the soldiers finish him, and then ducking back into the woods like some kind of diabolical floating chicken. And seeing that, Draven positions himself as far from the forest as he can. And Little One positions himself as close to the forest as he can, because that's how he rolls. So when Diluvian Leader returns after re-hiding, he nukes Little One for a crap ton of alchemical flask damage, and that's when they learn that despite his lighter armor, he actually had even higher AC than all those other KTs, and they don't hurt him all that much. Then he turns invisible with his cloak, but Draven still has C and Viz, so he watches this guy pull out a strange canister that shoots out an alchemically treated whip vine, latches onto the leaning tree, and pulls him halfway across the battlefield, obviously going after Bob himself. Draven shouts a warning, and Black is close enough that he is able to get between the two Kuatoa. And Diluvian Leader reveals himself with another devastating acid sneak attack, and it hurt. Yeah, I can't take much more of that. Like, any more of that. But that's okay, because Angel managed to sprint over there, runs up the rock, and with Black to give her flanking, she lassos her chain down from behind, then jerks it so it wraps around the assassin's neck, and with a sneak attack crit, she rips his head off like a chainsaw. And Angel's like, "They'd better pay us more after all this." And Black's like, "Yeah, nice, simple delivery." After the battle, there was some question of what to do with the halfling sniper, who had never attacked the party and, like Bob's men, had focused solely on the Diluvians once they showed themselves. Raven's keen eye for magic noted that the little guy's armor was enchanted, so the players had a hard time deciding whether to kill him and loot him for following that dumbass Jimmy, or to strip him of magic stuff and let him go. And Black's like, "We can't kill him, he didn't do anything wrong, he thought he was just fighting for his land back." And Little One's like, "Yeah, he wasn't stupid like the others. We should just let him go." And Draven's like, "I don't really care. Sure." And let him keep his stuff. Keep his stuff? But it's magic. But in the end, Black and Little One's sense of justice won out, and they let him go with his stuff after asking him a bunch of questions about the war bond. Once they healed up, there was plenty of loot to go around. Diluvian Leader dropped gloves of dexterity and a magic shield, plus there was a wealth of alchemical goods, including Diluvian lightning spheres and one unused whipvine tube, which Draven wanted to analyze, because those don't exist in any source books. And there was stuff to sell too, like Jimmy's magic bow, and all the non-minion KTs had masterwork swords and armor and shields, which add up to hundreds of gold per soldier. And Little One starts collecting KT teeth. Don't ask. And Bob's like, "Thank you for your assistance. We'll just collect their Kolos cloaks and be on our way." And they're all like, "What the hell are you smoking, fish bulb?" And Little One's like, "You keep what you kill. That's the necromonger. The player character. The mercenary. That's the mercenary way." And the Illud protests that the cloaks are useless to land dwellers because only a living Kua can produce the chemicals to power it. And Bob's like, "All right. I'll just take their leader's cloak. The rest are quite replaceable." But the players are adamant that they are not giving up these things because they're hoping Draven can study them and find a weakness or a way to use them or something. And in the end, Bob backs down, and each side takes all the stuff from the Diluvians they themselves kill, since Bob's side hardly killed any of them. But the stronger PCs also help the Illud to bury Volbo, which is quite a job, because he's large. And they don't even try to claim the fish ogre's oversized gear, even though it is magical, so overall they and Bob part on pretty good terms. But they'd better divvy up the loot quickly, because they're about to run afoul of dangerous orcs. Next time on Tales from My D&D Campaign. If you have any questions, comments, or criticism, you can post it on the forums, or make a comment below, and hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode of Tales from My D&D Campaign. I can't take much more of that. Like, any more of that.